Times are tough, and you can't always afford to give kids what they want for the holidays. It can be heartbreaking for parents and very stressful. Child psychologist Dr. Dean Leav has some advice for us. Thank you very much for joining us this holiday Friday.
Glad to be here.
Doctor, when you consider the fact that Thanksgiving is now over and parents are going to be asking their children what they want for Christmas, and children are certainly going to be volunteering what they want for Christmas, what's the best way to guide them through this if you can't afford to give them what's on their list?
Well, it's a very difficult situation for both parents and kids during these times. I mean, parents, they have to cover their basic expenses. When we're talking about gas, grocery, and rent, at the same time, their kids want certain items. And so how do parents deal with that? And it's a very challenging situation. I would start with younger kids. Well, with younger kids, I think it's okay to say no to your kids, especially if you're on a very limited budget. Because if you don't say no, think of the message that you're sending your kids. Now, if they think that they control the situation and that they're the boss, then I don't think it's a very healthy state for kids to be in.
Is there a way, though, to gently tell them no, to sort of let down their expectations?
Well, I think if you are able to convey love and affection and at the same time say no, I think it would be easy for them to accept that. Versus if you say no, and on top of that, you're not spending time with them, if you're not playing with them, then it'll be a lot harder for them to accept that.
Is there something that you can guide them to that maybe would make it still acceptable, you know, gifts that maybe they would want that are affordable, something that you can tell them would be just even better for them, more exciting for them?
Well, I think what parents can do is take an inventory of what resources they do have.
Okay.
Now, a lot of parents, they have certain talents, certain skills. And so I would advise parents, especially with younger kids, to kind of take advantage of the skills and the talent that they do have. Now, I know of many families where the parents are musicians. And so with those parents, what they can do is play a song or use the guitar or use some kind of instrument in their gifting towards their kids. And so that will allow them to save a lot of money in the process.
One of the things that I would be concerned with as well, not just for the children, but for the parents. That's something that's a burden when you have to disappoint your children. It can be very shameful, very embarrassing. And how would you advise parents to sort of go through this difficult time for themselves?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of parents are going through a lot of negative emotions when the kids want certain things and they have to say no. And so with these parents, I would advise them to kind of first start out by identifying what these negative emotions are and to figure out where these emotions are coming from. And if they reflect enough, they will realize that a lot of these negative emotions are from certain core beliefs. For example, if the parent believes that I'm a bad parent if I don't give my kids everything that they want, then it's very easy for them to feel guilty during the holidays when they have to say no to their kids.
And I would imagine you don't want them to compound the guilt with the stress of racking up debt on their credit cards.
Exactly. That will make it a lot worse. And so if the parents choose to give in to their kids' demand, they will have more debt, which creates more stress. And that creates a very unhealthy environment for both the parents and for the kids at home.
When it comes to older teenagers, is there a guideline that you would suggest for them that are expecting the fancy clothes and not just what Santa is going to bring them? They know that it's going to come out of their parents' wallets.
Yeah. Well, with older kids, I think you have a few more options. I think it's okay for parents to be completely honest with their older kids, to let them know that, hey, right now the family's going through some tough financial times and we have to prioritize our spending. And so the older kids, usually they're more accepting of that and they can adapt with that. At the same time, parents can turn the situation to a very practical life lesson on budgeting or living below your means. And that's something that they can just embrace for the rest of their own lives.
Is this the good weekend to do this, doctors? Maybe sort of as we look towards the holidays, we've got the family together to say, listen, this is going to be a little bit different this Christmas, you know.
I think today or this time of the year would be an ideal time to practice something like that because there's a lot of temptations right now for kids to want certain toys. And so I think if parents are firm in their decision to say no to certain items, I think it'll really send a strong message to their kids.
We always want what the other kids have, and I think that's always sort of the drawback and the downfall for parents. Well, Timmy has it and Susie has it. You know, how do you explain to them that it's not going to be something that they have?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure from other kids, especially when your kids see other kids with a nice toy from the Apple Store or something like. And so I think parents have to kind of let their kids know that the quality of the toy that they are receiving themselves does not equate to how they feel for their kids. And so just because they're not getting that fancy toy from the Apple Store does not mean that they love them any less. And so I think parents can somehow convey that to their kids and separate the two in terms of the quality of the toy versus how they really feel for their kids.
And you know what? You know the parents love their kids. It's going to be a difficult time. but you've just provided some good advice for helping them get through it and not feel so bad if they have to let them down a little bit easier.
Thank you.
Doctor, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.